Hello, Pokemon Masters, Toby here, and wow, it has been a while since I've covered the topic of the Tree of Evolution. You know, this bad boy, an evolutionary tree that comes as a poster, but also is a video series explaining why all of the Pokemon that are on this tree are where they are. Why are they reptiles? Why are they arthropods? Why are they aliens? The Pokemon world has a lot of diverse life. And every time a new Pokemon is announced or revealed, I like to discuss where does it belong on this evolutionary tree. One day I will do an updated version with all the Hisuian forms and all of the Gen 9 Pokemon on, but I'm not going to do a new version until Gen 9's out, and that could be late 2022 or even late 2023, so this poster is good for another year and a half. Anyone who's checking it out on the merch store and picking it up, thank you very much, I appreciate it very much. Also, the oversized A1 poster is like limited stock. When those last ones have sold, they're gone forever. It'll just be the regular size then. But okay, Toby, I hear you. Hisuian forms, again, this is like Alolan forms, this is like Galar forms and Galar evolutions. It's not hard to know where they're placed on the evolutionary tree. Hisuin Growlithe is probably most closely related to modern day Growlithe. Basculegion, I wonder what Pokemon it could possibly be related to. Of course, it's Basculin, but I don't want to discuss so much the placements as much as I want to discuss what happened to these ancient Pokemon? Why doesn't Basculin evolve into Basculegion in modern day? And are there Hisuian forms of Growlithe out there somewhere? Or have they all turned into the modern day variant? And that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. So let's start talking about evolution and Pokemon extinction. Okay, but before we begin, Pokemon Masters, don't forget to use Quick Attack on the like button and make sure to land a critical hit. And if you leave a comment, you're in with a chance of winning a copy of Pokemon Legends Arceus, because I'm giving away 3 copies of the game when Legends Arceus is released. And that is a worldwide giveaway, so anyone has a chance to win every video with Legends Arceus or Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl in the title that you leave a comment in. That counts as an entry. Right, so let's talk through the Hisuian forms, let's start with Growlithe. Because what we're seeing here with Hisuian Growlithe and regular Growlithe is very different to what we see with, say, Raichu and Alolan Raichu. With the latter, it's a situation where most modern day Raichu all look the same way, the way Raichu first appeared when we got it in those Kanto games. However, under certain conditions, certain climates, mostly in the Alola region, it becomes the Alolan Raichu. Actually, its evolution is very specifically tied to pancake eating. So, depending on the climate, if it's warm enough and there's access to enough pancakes, then Pikachu will evolve differently when it transitions into a Raichu, creating a new branch on the evolutionary tree. But with Growlithe here, it's completely different, because Pokemon Legends Arceus is set in the past and we've never seen this form of Growlithe before. This is closer to being like a fossil Pokemon, where this version of Growlithe has either gone extinct or is completely undiscovered in the modern day. And I expect in future titles that is how they will retcon this in Generation 9, let's assume it's a region based in, I don't know, Greece or Italy or Russia or wherever. There will be wild Growlithe that remain in this form from the days when Sinnoh was called Hisui. I can totally see them doing that, and that would make sense. But for the most part, this version of Growlithe is extinct everywhere else in the Pokemon region, so what happened to it? Was it a big extinction event? Was it out-competed by Vulpix? No. Given how close it looks to modern-day Growlithe and the differences in these Pokemon's descriptions, I'd say that this version of Growlithe is a direct ancestor to modern day Growlithe. The more we learn about it, it seems that Pokemon Legends Arceus is not set in ancient Sinnoh, it's actually just a few hundred years ago. I think ancient Sinnoh was kind of like maybe a fan term that when we first saw those trailers, went, oh my goodness, they're doing ancient Sinnoh, and that caught on, but actually it looks to be ancient only in that it's a few hundred years and not so much the thousands of years or several hundred years that we thought before. And you gotta admit, both forms of Growlithe look very much alike. I don't think this is a case of one species going extinct so much as it is they're the same species, just separated by maybe 100 or so years. And by the way, we don't know the lifespan of a Pokemon, so let's say the lifespan of your average Growlithe is 200 years, then obviously that doesn't make sense. But if your average lifespan for a Growlithe is, say, 10 years, suddenly you can have 20 generations in a 200-year span. Now, the reason that creatures change over time, the process of evolution, it It's random genetic change. The layman definition of this, and I've done a full video about Evolution 101 explaining it more in depth a long time ago now one of my most popular videos, so thank you for that. Two members of a species reproduce, in this case two Arcanines, and those Arcanines have a baby Growlithe. 49.5% of the dad's genetic code is mixed up with 59.5% of the mum's genetic code, and it's shaken together. As the PG way of that. That's how Pokemon eggs happen. The genetic code is smushed together, and there's a little bit of extra in there, which is just genetic mutation. And the offspring, the baby Growlithe, is born. Now, if this Growlithe is born with traits that are advantageous to its survival, maybe it can breathe a hotter, more powerful flamethrower attack, or maybe it's faster so it can run away from predators or run towards prey, then it's more likely to survive and thus reproduce. And as long as that Pokemon's environmental factors stay exactly the same, then those traits, being faster or being able to breathe hotter fire, will continue to be advantageous. It can scorch its prey and it can chase after it and run away from predators. Of course, if the land floods for some reason, then a Growlithe that is better at swimming might be more likely to survive. It's a more advantageous trait, and so those ones are more likely to survive, thus reproduce, passing along those genes. Over enough generations, ultimately what you end up with is that change in species over time, and that is evolution. And in the case of Growlithe, we can actually look at their Pokedex entries and see what's changed between the generations. According to Pokemon Silver version, Growlithe has a Pokedex entry that says, extremely loyal, it will fearlessly bark at any opponent to protect its trainer from harm. However, when we look to the Fire Rock type Hisuian Growlithe, we see a different picture on the Pokemon website. Hisuian Growlithe are highly vigilant and tend to be seen watching over their territory in pairs. Apparently, they've lived apart from humans for a long time and are unused to being around people. Building trust with the Hisuian Growlithe takes time. This indicates that, for a matter of fact, for the majority of modern-day Growlithe that we've seen in the games, siding with people, learning to trust them, being easier to approach to people, has been advantageous towards their survival, likely because people feed them. And this is a process called domestication, and it's what's happened to pretty much all of your household pets. It is advantageous for an animal's survival and ability to reproduce if people are just gonna grab food for them. And people are more likely to do that if the Pokemon is cute and willing to work with them. And that is in fact part of the reason why a lot of modern day dog species wouldn't survive well in the wild at all. They've had all of those survival traits bred out for cute traits that make people want to keep them. This might be why Hisuian Growlithe has lost the rock type altogether, because it would make it too uncomfortable for people to cuddle. Moving on from Growlithe, domestication also explains Stantler's evolution, wyrdeer. Wyrdeer is kind of weird, and I mean, so too is modern day Stantler. Stantler has that ability to create illusions with the orbs on its antlers. And as we see in the trailer, wyrdeer is being ridden by people, and people in modern day ride Pokemon all the time. They fly Charizards and they charge around on Tauros's back, but wyrdeer does kind of jump around in a very clunky manner that looks really beneficial if you're traversing the big, great snowy tundra of Sinnoh. But other than the Crown Tundra, there's not a lot of areas in the modern day Pokemon world where jumping around like that would really be that helpful. It would clearly be better to just cover terrain on the back of a Tauros or fly over it on Charizard, so modern day people don't ride around wyrdeer. And in fact, this is where it's slightly different and slightly darker, because wyrdeer is not a Pokemon that has evolved over time into modern day Stantler. Modern day Stantler used to have the ability to evolve into this Pokemon and doesn't anymore. So the question is, why has it lost this pathway for evolution? Well, sadly, it might have to do with Stantler's Pokedex entry that shows that people used to hunt Stantler for its horns. Now, wyrdeer has bigger and more powerful horns than Stantler's, so perhaps it was the case that people used to hunt wyrdeer, and it was more advantageous for Stantler to survive if they didn't evolve. After humans found better Pokemon to ride around on than wyrdeer, at that point it just became like a trophy to have the Stantlers of the antlers of them. And so it was more beneficial for Stantler to become a timid species and to not evolve at all. It's kind of dark, but sadly that is the way it goes sometimes. Okay, those are the two with human interference. We still have Braviary and Basculegion to go. I'll cover Braviary super quickly because it's my belief that Braviary in this form probably does exist out there somewhere today. Again, if there's some other tundra-y-like region, there's every chance that this form of Braviary exists out there very, very rarely. However, it is possible that just as the climate warmed up, which we know happened because when you look at the maps of the Sinnoh region versus the Hisui region, the snow area of the top of Sinnoh has like shrunken dramatically. Perhaps just as the region warmed up, Braviary no longer needed this white coat to blend in with the background, and in fact, in order to blend in with more rocky backgrounds, it changed its color as a camouflage technique. Again, this isn't a choice by Braviary, it would just happen to be the case that if a Braviary is flying around a mountain range and it's a bright white color against a rocky background, it would be really easy for predators to spot it or for prey to see it coming, and so those that blended in better with the background and camouflage better would be more likely to survive and reproduce. Thus, the modern day Braviary is what happens generations later. But the final Pokemon I want to talk about is Basculegion, and this is such a cool one because you would think surely it's always beneficial for Basculin to evolve into Basculegion. It's clearly more powerful than Basculin, so what gives? Well, Basculin evolved into Basculegion in the Hisui region by jumping up waterfalls, and the Basculin that failed to get up those waterfalls, their souls combine into Basculegion. We know that Basculin is a very territorial Pokemon, and in fact, in modern day Unova, Basculin has completely outcompeted Magikarp, a Pokemon that is literally everywhere else in the Pokemon world. So much so that you have to catch Magikarp and Gyarados in a nature preserve in Black and White too. You'd think if Basculin's that dominant in modern day, why don't they evolve into Basculegion? And I think the answers are simple. It's a numbers game. See, if Magikarp is their main other competitor for space and territory and resources, Magikarp's evolution strategy is really simple. It hatches with the lowest amount of steps for its eggs to hatch, so it reproduces super quickly, and because it doesn't have big energy needs, all it does is splash around, it doesn't require a lot of food to survive. So one Magikarp can multiply into 10 Magikarp, which can multiply into 100 Magikarp, but you know the sales pitch. All of that stuff can happen super quickly, and so the Magikarp population can boom, and the moment one of them evolves into a Gyarados, a single Gyarados can probably defend the territory of like 100 Magikarp, so you don't even need that many Magikarp to evolve for the whole school to become protected. And yeah, okay, we know Magikarp is prey for a lot of Pokemon like Pidgeotto, but when you're reproducing that fast, it doesn't matter if some individuals get eaten because the family, the species, survives. So Magikarp is a Pokemon based on multiplying. However, Basculegion is a Pokemon based on subtracting. Multiple Basculin have to die for a single Basculin to become a Basculegion, and they do this trying to triumph over waterfalls. Now, this may in that moment allow them to access new sources of food and new sources of habitat that other Pokemon don't get access to, but in the long run, you got a lot of Basculin who are spending a lot of time trying to jump up waterfalls and dying. This might explain why there are no Basculin in modern day Sinnoh, because they're all dying to become Basculegions, which at the end of the day then have to jump up the waterfall and compete with other species like Magikarp. Yes, a Basculegion is a more powerful creature than a Basculin, but clearly, even though it would seem beneficial to our subjective point of view, actually it's clearly not. It's taking a lot of resources to become a Basculegion to get probably very little reward, and ultimately the Basculin that can evolve into Basculegion in the first place, that strategy didn't work out well for them. They died out. They were out-competed by your basic Magikarp, and that explains why in modern day, Magikarp and Gyarados are everywhere, and Basculin are, clearly they've made an ecological niche work for them in Unova, but they've not gone anywhere else. And that is just the first 4 Hisuian forms. I hope I'm pronouncing the region right. I feel like I keep on needing to look it up. So, where do they belong on the evolutionary tree? I mean, obviously next to the Pokemon they're related to. For Basculegion and Wyrdeer, they are evolutionary branches that ultimately have wilted and died off in modern day, unless we discover them living out in the wild there in modern day, maybe in Generation 9. But for Growlithe and Braviary, I suspect they are very direct ancestors that have become the modern form. They are the same Pokemon and they are this closely related. But what do you think? You're gonna have to let me know in the comments down below. And of course, if you do let me know in the comments, you're in with a chance of winning a copy of Legends Arceus, because I'm giving away 3 when the game comes out. Don't forget to use Quick Attack on the liked button and leave it with a critical hit. I'd really appreciate it. And with that being said, soar high, Pokemon Masters.
This is Ash Ketchum. You just watched a video by Birdkeeper Toby. That makes you a Pokemon Master.
What in the world? So many of you are supporting me on Patreon right now. Thank you so much to the big Patreons of this month. There's JD Gottlich, Matty B, PokeBliss, PokeAtmos, and Michael Hornschuch. Thank you.